I don't have the perspective of having had live lessons with you per se, but I mean,
Well, why don't you tell me, because you've had live lessons in the past. Well, what would you say about the online lesson, the pros and cons? Because there's always going to be, plus and minus for everything that you do in teaching, because we don't have a perfect, a perfect landscape. But you take FaceTime, and the FaceTime is really, you and I have great reception. I mean, it's almost infallible. It's one of the best. And part of my talk was I'm going to show examples of very good transmissions.
Yeah.
Because the big doubt people have is that when I hear the student, that I'm not really hearing him or her in the same way to discriminate about the tone they're making or lots of dimensions of assessment that I would have if they were in my room. But on the other hand, I do get enough fine, audio here for your lesson and a couple others where I do hear everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the question is, do you hear on my end that you can discriminate with what I feed back to you?
Anyway, but no, FaceTime, I hear everything. The perspective of the keyboard is great. And I think if for me, the woman that I took from for a while, she had two pianos and then she was down to one.
Yeah.
And so, then she would be sitting like right beside me. And she is a brilliant conservatory trained person, but, she's a bit, was sometimes I wished that, and I guess I could have done that. I guess I could have taped her because I often found myself not being able to remember what she told me, about a certain passage or how to do something. And, but I mean, it's great not have to leave home. I mean, the follow-up that you do, I think, is exceptional.
And I think it's important. I think whenever I do online, I've always decided that I have to have follow-up for the student. But the live students get them too, because they do forget. They forget when they go home some of the stuff we've done.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, of course, that's a plus. But even if you weren't doing the follow-up, I don't really think anything is compromised. I mean, I've often wondered, am I missing something by not being able to see your body language, maybe, to see the whole, to see your body or like the way you may lean in certain.
Well, that can be done, with a different camera view.
Right.
What I've been doing lately is the overhead, simply because the students want the overhead. So they can see the same notes that they're seeing on the page of music, and it could, let's say there's a fingering issue, that it's easier to track it. But I can easily switch to any number of views. But we could, there's a FaceTime view, which would be the side of me. Actually, all you really need to see is the arms, because the arms and wrists show the how I'm using the arms, so that you would then benefit from that. I never try to cut off my hands down here. I like the wrist motion,
And I mean, and then the other thing is, if you're, I mean, I see the pros and cons of having two pianos when you're live, but sometimes when she was on the other piano, I couldn't see. I almost liked it better when she got down to one.
Yes.
She was right beside me, but then that had a drawback too, because
you had to get up. Did she ever tell you?
I had to. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, that's kind of like musical chairs, and then you have to find the center of your bench again.
So I mean, I see a lot of advantages of it. I mean, not to mention having a great lesson like this and not having to leave home.
Yes, isn't that nice? It's nice for me too. But I do like my live students too. But they all have cameras on them, and I have cameras on me all the time. I mean, the technology is with me all the time. And that's something, as I've grown into Skype, that I realized applied to everybody. But some of them bring their iPhones,
Yeah, and I mean, I never really thought about that I guess I could have done this with this woman. But then you think about somebody like me. I don't live in a big urban area, so I don't have a plethora of really high caliber teachers to choose from.
Right.
I mean,
in North Carolina. Although the North Carolina School of the Arts, there's some really good people over that way.
great people in North Carolina, just not in this rural county that I'm in,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And that's the problem. I mean, if I were in the Triangle or Charlotte or, even Asheville has a lot more, but to drive 50 minutes, and so that's a beautiful thing to not only get the caliber of teacher that you are, but also I don't have to leave home.
Yeah, that's a good point you're making because, and I always tell, people that inquire about it, that there are a lot of people all over the world that don't have easy access to cosmopolitan areas where there are the better teachers. Yeah. They just don't. And so Skype or online really serves a very good purpose for them. It really fills a need. And we all have to emphasize that. In fact, I love to use that part of, I'm recording it now. I'm going to use part, if I don't mind, I will use part of it in that lecture, because that's exactly what I want them to hear. Because when they ask me that question, I'm going to say, fills a void for many people around the world and around the country.
And I guess I would struggle to really find a downside of it. I really would. I mean, I would struggle to find a downside. I mean, the biggest drawback, I guess, is just not being able to know you live and in person, Mm-hmm. That's probably the biggest thing. Like when I saw your face on the recital, I'd never seen your face that much.
That's cute. That's very cute.
And that probably would be the, I really sitting here at that, I'm struggling to find a downside.
Yeah, it's interesting because they have improved transmission. And I started Skyping in 2010, and it has really come up. And I would say in the FaceTime area, it has really come up. Yeah. I don't think I have any FaceTime transmissions that are bad. They're all really clear. There are still some lingering Skype people that is not perfect, and I'm not pleased with it, but we can't do anything about that yet. So that, that's why the videos, for those people, they'll get more videos of me just doing a quick time review of their lesson. You know what I mean? I put it on a quick time, I summarize their lesson, and they get it. Now, Gail's last lesson, I thought that was really great because what I did is I did a call recorder on Skype, and I was able to do different views on the playback. It gives me different views. So while she's taking the lesson, I go between full keyboard, her side, half of us, and to show when she gets it back, she can see I'm going back and forth. It was kind of good.
Interesting.
I did it because I want to show it at my talk, how I can, while the lesson is in progress, have different camera views. Now, I can't do that with FaceTime. FaceTime only gives me split screen, which I wish it didn't. However, I am able to do a new screen record, which is tricky. Like if I want to just get just you, not just me. Well, I can do just me too. A new screen record allows me to get either you or me. Completely the whole screen. Whereas the call recorder doesn't let me do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I have to do is I have to crop you. I take this little sliver, which says new screen record. I drag it over and I put a crop around you so we don't see the whole busybody, desktop icons.
Right.
And then I click record. And so then I did it once and I'm going to show how I did. And I got like Marie completely herself. And then I put it still has the webcam views that I can adjust. I can go myself, you, that's it. And FaceTime, but FaceTime would be me. And I can, if the student wants to see just me, I can do that too. And it's just a whole view. And I'm going to, if you don't mind, use little segments of what you said today because I'll say this is North Carolina speaking. And then I have David's thing, and we switch around the country and hear everybody. I'll actually record Sherry saying something, maybe a few minutes. And, it'll be interesting to have that.